Array means that is not a single value, that is a group of values. It may be a column or it may be a row. Array means it may be a column or it may be a row, but it has multiple values. Okay, lookup array means that is especially the column where you are searching or the row where you are searching. Okay, so in this previous example, in the example 1, respondent ID is my lookup values. I will search them in the respondent ID column. Only in this column I will search. Okay, and one more questions that you are asking. Let us suppose if I am searching the respondent ID, wherever I found the respondent ID, I want to return the years of code. So do I require to pass all of those columns in between, or can I pass only these two columns for the function? Means absolutely it is a big no for the VLOOKUP function. For VLOOKUP function, you have to pass all the columns till the column you want to return the data. I'm not saying you have to select all the columns. No. You want years of code. Okay. Obviously, you have to select from respondent to years of code every column in between. Let us suppose if you have 100 columns between respondent and years of code, you have to pass all of them. Okay, you have to pass all of them, otherwise it is not possible for VLOOKUP function. That is also one of the disadvantage of VLOOKUP. But if you use XLOOKUP function, individually you can pass the lookup array, that is the respondent ID column, and years of code individually, that is the return array. So that means you are avoiding passing all of these columns, correct? So that XLOOKUP works fast compared to the VLOOKUP because of number of column selections. In the XLOOKUP function, we will select only two columns. One is the lookup column, that is where you are searching, and return column, that means from where you want to return the data. That's it. But in the VLOOKUP function, in between, if you have hundreds of columns, you have to select them. You have to select them. Otherwise, you can't perform the VLOOKUP function. That is also one of the disadvantage of it. Okay. So that is about VLOOKUP function, HLOOKUP function, XLOOKUP function, and one more advantage of XLOOKUP over VLOOKUP I will tell you. Please observe. Let us suppose between respondent column and years of code column, if I add one more column, observe. If I am adding one more column between, okay, so so now I have added an extra new column. I have added an extra new column between the respondent ID column and the years of code column. So let's see what is happening. See, my values are updated in the years of code, but still the values were same in XLOOKUP. Have you seen this? Have you observed this? Years of code column data is updated, but this is not the actual data. Why it is updated means I have added the extra column between. Okay, between respondent ID and years of code, I have added the extra column. That is the reason the years of code data has been updated, where I am getting from the VLOOKUP function. But if I am using the XLOOKUP function, the data still it is not updated. Even though if you are adding multiple columns like this, see, I am adding 5 to 6 columns in between respondent ID and years of code, but still it is not updated, XLOOKUP. But every time the VLOOKUP is updated. Every time VLOOKUP is updating, but XLOOKUP is remains constant for each and every time. That is the advantage of XLOOKUP over the VLOOKUP function. Okay. It updates the data. It updates the data if we add more columns in between. Okay. And obviously HLOOKUP also will do the same thing. If you are adding the more rows, not columns over here, because that is the HLOOKUP, more rows in between, so obviously it will be updated. Now let's see, Control Shift plus. 3 rows added. 3 rows added between ID and marks. Let's HLOOKUP marks are updated, but XLOOKUP marks still remains the same. So that means that is also disadvantage, correct? Okay. I hope you get my point. Okay, so let me just remove them because example is already done. And here also I'll remove these columns. And the data will be as usual. Whenever I'm deleting the columns, so the data will be as usual this time. Okay, so that is the advantage of XLOOKUP over VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. Okay, so now we will move on to the next concepts, next functions. Those are index and match functions. Okay, so there are a lot more interview questions you will get from these, especially lookup functions. How to use lookup, VLOOKUP, what is the syntax, and what are the disadvantage of VLOOKUP, what are the advantage of XLOOKUP, how can you access a single column from the index, entire single column by using the. So maybe you will get use the index with the match. Of match and VLOOKUP. These type of questions you will get. For that, and I'll make you understand how these functions will be helpful for solving those type of questions. Okay, so let's compare this index function and match function. Match returns the position of the value. Position of the value, that is the point that everyone should remember. And index returns the value in the position. Okay, so there is a lot of difference between these definitions because the in index function we already know the position, but we are returning the value in that particular position. So let us suppose if I know the position like 39th position, in 39th position there was a person. I don't know exactly who is that person it is. In 39th position there is a person. Okay, so that person, let us suppose if you observe this data, there was a person name whose name is G. Okay, so whose name is G. I know the name of the person, but I don't know the position of this person. Let us suppose whether he is present as the 6th row or 7th row. I don't know exactly. So at that point of time, you are supposed to use the index function. Okay, so coming back to the match function, so why we will use the match function means to know the position of the value. So sorry my bad here. So let us suppose here, if you know the position over here and you want to access the value, let us suppose here G, you already know the G, name of the person is G, and you don't know the position, then you will use the match function to look up this particular person's position. You will use the match function. So at the same time, if you know the position, like the first person I want to know, but I don't know who is he. In the first position, I don't know who is present. So at that point of time, you will use the index function. Okay. So here the known part, known attribute, known part is position. So and here known part is value. Okay, so here you know the position and you are searching for a value. You know the position and you want the values. So here you know the value but you don't know the position. That is the match function. Okay, so now I will clearly mention the syntax of index function over here. Index of first value should be the array. You have to pass the entire table array, and then row index from which row you want the data, and column index from which column you want to return the data. That's it. So column index is not that much important because if you are passing a single column as an array, column index is not required. If you are passing multiple columns as an array, then column index is required. Okay, so I will show you with an example. Match function, lookup value, what you are searching, that is the value, and lookup array where you are searching, and then match. Okay, so either you want exact match or approximate match. Okay, that is the match function definitions. Okay, so these are the syntaxes of index and match function. So let me just clearly give you the clarity over. Okay, so is there any unique value that we can find over here? Unique column, let's see. I guess all the columns were repeated values. We don't have the respondent name. Uh, if we have it, so that we can use it, but I can't find the server. Mhm. Okay, fine. So we will use the respondent ID only, because based on that we will just check the position. So maybe you won't understand. I will use this data only. So let's copy this and paste it over here. But I'll just transpose it. So this data I will use for the index one time and another. So name of the person and the position and marks. This is a simple example. So everyone please observe. Name of the person may be B, C, A, D, H, I. These are the name of the persons. Do we have those names? Yes, I have. And then positions. Do you know the position of B? At what position the B is present? Do you know that? That is obviously second position. And next, what is the position of C? Third position. What is the position of I? I have to manually count, that is ninth position. So here you know the value. You are supposed to access the. I will use the match function because in the match function you know the value. You want lookup value, comma, for the names, all the names I will pass as a lookup array. So absolute reference I will take, and the match mode will be obviously exact match 0. Close the bracket, click on it. So second position B, I'll just drag down so that I will get all the person's positions. So C is the third position, A in the first position, D in the fourth position, H in the eighth position, I in the ninth position. So these are the positions of these persons. Okay. Now I want to access the marks of these persons. Okay, I know their names, I know their positions, I want to access the marks. So instead of accessing directly from the name, what I will do, I will access the marks with these respective positions, because if I access the second marks, that will be obviously person B marks, correct? If I add the first marks, that will be obviously A person marks. So let's see. Here I know the position, but I don't know the value. Then I will use the index function. Okay, position, not position. First argument will be my array. So that is the array from where you are trying to get the data. That is the marks column. That is the first argument. Second argument will be row index. Row index is this position. Close the bracket, click on it. Now I don't require to pass column index. Why? Because I am selecting only single column, so column index is not required. So still drag down. So now you can able to get the marks of the person. Now we are using multiple things over here. Match function we have used, and index function also we have used. Okay, so let me just so we are using the match function to get the positions based on these names, and we are using the index function to get the marks column based on these positions. Okay, so as we already spoke about this, we already discussed about this part, that you already know the position value, but you don't know the data inside that position. So then we will obviously use the index, but we did it. Okay, we are trying to access these values based on these positions. That's it. We know the positions, we have accessed the values. And match function means you don't know the position, you know the values. According to those values, we know the values and we got the positions. Instead of mentioning this position column, you can directly able to mention copy, paste it over here, and the marks column you can directly, I would say that you can directly access the marks column by using the combination of index and match. Let's see. Index, and my array should be this array. Obviously, that is the marks that I want. Okay, marks column, comma, row index. Row position I don't know. So then I will use the match function to match the lookup value, that is D3. Okay, and then my lookup array would be where every time whenever you are passing multiple values, 0 for the exact match, close the match function and close the index function, click on enter. 67, and you can just drag down till the end, 49. The function that I am using over here is the combination of index and match function. So I will place it on top. So now you can observe. This is the function. This is the function, and if you want me to mention over here, I will mention. So this is the function I am using to get these values. Now this is just like working as a VLOOKUP, because I am searching for this data in a column and I am returning this data from another column. So VLOOKUP also is doing the same thing. Searches the data from for the same task. That is, you can use the combination of index and I will clearly mention that I am using index plus match. Correct? That's right. So that is the importance of index and match function. So let us suppose if the question is all about how can you access a particular row, marks row. Okay, let us suppose as I told you, there were complex things are also happened. Complex VLOOKUP questions are also you will get. The question like if you don't know the position of the column, obviously in the VLOOKUP function what we are supposed to pass is the column index, that is 13 or 14. So if you observe the function over here, 13 or 14. So 14 is I am mentioning, that is the number That is the index number of years code. What if you don't know? Because I am just manually counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 like that, 14th number. What if you don't know the position? Years code. The same. I will use VLOOKUP function. How this will help us? I am using VLOOKUP function plus match function. So let me just add this. Orders. VLOOKUP and match function I will use, and then I will get the years of code without passing the column index number, because here I am passing 14 as a column number, but still now I won't pass it because this is a complex question that you will get in your interviews. So VLOOKUP function name, lookup value is 25, and table arrays should be selecting the entire data till years of code, or let's say you can control A. Okay, so control A, maybe it is not selecting, so select the entire data. Wait, where is the function? Again I will type VLOOKUP, lookup value, and lookup array, that means table array, not the lookup array. Table array means obviously you are supposed to pass the entire table with absolute reference, and then column index as the third argument, but I don't know the column number. So then I will use the match function over here, and my lookup value should be this column name, because I am searching this column, so that will become my column name. Lookup value, and lookup array would be where you will fetch the column name. Where you will fetch the column name? Inside the table? No, inside the column headers. So I will pass all the column headers over. Obviously F4, F4. So comma 0 for the exact match. Close the match function. Match function is done. Comma, obviously the last argument false for the exact match. Close the bracket. Click on it. Okay. See what value I'm getting. It's a not applicable value. Let me see. Let me just check the formula. Okay, so I'll just copy it. You can just check. I'll paste it on the top. So now everyone observe the formula where we are getting an error. See, what is the error? Tell me. In simple words, so this will be my J7, that will be my lookup value, and my lookup array would be BE1 to 88,884. Obviously, that's the entire data set I have selected. So that is done. And column index number, I don't know from which column I want to return the data. So that is the reason I have taken years code option, and I am searching it till the end. So maybe is there any column name error? Let's see the column name. That is years code. Column name is years code, YEARS. But we are passing year code. There is no S here. That is the reason we are getting an error. Okay. So let me mention S for all the columns. This column also years, not year. Let me mention S and we will check. Yes. Years code. N6. Yes, that is the years code column. So obviously it is correct. And then let me just check